And I know. You're going, Pastor, you ever going to get to your sermon today? Yes, I am. But I wanted you to know how we got here. We spent a year working here in Seaside. Heidi worked for a property management company. I worked for the school as a bus driver, volunteered my time as a youth football coach. And God brought a lady to us through her kids named Michelle. She goes, I've been needing to get back into church, and my family and I used to go, but we don't go anymore, and we really should be going to church. I said, really? Well, I just so happen to know of a new church starting up, and I know the pastor pretty well. And we talked and we chatted. Oh, that's nice. And then she's sitting at a football game that next Saturday. Happens to sit down next to a lady, and she goes, well, I've been meaning to get into a church, and I need to get back to church. And my wife happened to be the lady she was sitting next to and said, really? I happen to know of a church starting up, and I happen to know the pastor pretty well. And so we gathered one more family, and Peter and Kaylee and Dave had come with us from Sheridan to begin this work. And our very first Tuesday night, we decided to have Bible studies for a while first while we tried to build up the body. And we met on a Tuesday night in my living room. And in my living room at that time, it was about 10 feet by 12 feet. And sticking 13 people in one little living room like that was not fun. And so we began to look for other places, and we ended up renting the Rebecca's Lodge. Once a week, we could have it on Tuesday nights. And we did that for a while, and then God opened up the doors for us to rent this building. And then, of course, as most of you know, within 2 years of us renting the building, the owner and her husband died within 6 weeks of each other. And the person that was in charge of the estate said, well, we have to sell the building. It's part of the will that we get rid of the building. It's not in the family. None of the kids want to take it over, and so we're going to have to sell the building. I'm sorry for that. But Diana said in her will that you guys get first crack at buying the building, and that we're to give you a discount on whatever price we come up with. So we're going to bring in a realtor. We're going to have them look at the building, and the realtor put a price on the building of $220,000. We said, nice knowing you. Let's go look for other places. And she said, but because of the economy and the way things are going, the realtor suggested that we drop it down to $125,000. Take $100,000 off of it because of the economy and how many empty buildings there already are here on the block. But because Diana believed in so much in what you guys are doing and loved you guys so much, she told us to take another $20,000 off of it. And so we're going to offer you the building for $105,000. Let me get my checkbook. I don't have that. So I called the district and said, Mr. District Superintendent, sir, please, Dr. Reeder, at this time, we have an opportunity. And I shared with him the goal, the dream, and the opportunity we had. And he said, we sold the building, the old Nazarene building, for a lot more than $105,000. And it was part of the deal that we would buy you a space eventually when you found one. Is this the space you want? And I said, absolutely. We're right on Broadway. We have a storefront, which is the dream that we have. We are right where we want to be. And he said, okay, we'll make it happen. Within the week, the money was wired. We bought the building, and we owned the building at the end of March 2010. Right? 2010? 2011. It was 2011. We rented it for 2 years. So we've owned the building now for almost a year and a half. And then they said, but we're not done yet. There was money left over. You guys got such a good deal on the building. We want to give you a gift. Every dollar that you raise, we will match it dollar for dollar free for the remodel of the building, because that building needs some work. We said, yes, we know the building needs some work. We're willing to do it. And if you could have seen this place when we first took over, the monkey puke green walls, which is the way that the landlord described it, the just tattered walls. It was nasty in here, guys. We do. We just don't have them up yet. We will eventually. Right there underneath the clock, there'll be a mural of the before and after pictures of our building in the building, and it's 40 years old. So as we deconstructed everything and as we began to rebuild, God just began to provide the money and everything. And the district matched it like they said they would, and they continue to do that through next year, I think. And we're just continuing to go, and so far we have got into zero debt on this building. We don't owe a dime to anybody on anything that we've done so far. God has been good to Welcome Home Church. And this morning I kind of wanted that in your mind as we talk about Ephesians chapter 5. We're talking about putting on the armor of God, and we've been in this series and we've been moving down this road, and there's some things in here that are kind of hard to hear. There's some things in here that are kind of like, well, but we've been talking about all this good stuff for so long that we're children with privileges, that we belong to the King, and we're going to get the inheritance of God and all the rest of it, and now you're going to bring this stuff up to me now? And I wanted you to realize that just because we go through hard times, just because we go through difficult things, and they're not as easy as we thought they would be, does not mean that we're done. We live in a world today that is not nice. Anybody need proof of that? I'll come over and kick you in the shin just to show you. I'm willing to do that for you today. We live in a world that's full of darkness. And the only way it can be full of darkness is because there's an absence of light. Did you know that is the definition of darkness? Darkness is not something that exists. It's only a state of existence when there is no light. I was talking to our athletic director this week. If you haven't noticed, we have new lights down on the football field this year, finally, on our new field. And they lit them up for one of our practices this week, and man, it was like daylight out there. He said, well, actually, you've only got about 25 candle watts per square foot on this field. But because it's dark outside, it makes it look like it's so much brighter. Just a little bit of light in the darkness makes things look so much better. And it's the same way with the world that we are in today. If we can be light to our world, if we can be who God has called us to be, that all of this darkness, all of this bad stuff will have a different look to it when it's exposed to the light. It changes. And we'll pick up on the first verse there in chapter 5. Justin, if you'd be so kind. He starts with, imitate God, therefore, in everything you do, because you are his dear children. Have you guys ever watched a little kid and his dad? Isn't it funny? I'm sure my kids have done it. I don't really notice when you're in the moment so much, but isn't it funny watching that little kid and the dad's doing work on the shed or something, and he's pounding something. What's the kid doing over in the corner? He's got his little Tonka truck and little car going boom, da-boom, da-boom. Okay, da-boom, da-boom. Watching dad the whole time. Oh, now we're sawing. Okay, now we're sawing. Oh, we're screwing this in. Okay, we're going to screw this in. And they're watching dad the whole time. They're imitating dad, and they're learning behaviors, and they're learning things from dad. It's one of those things that makes me, as a father of 4 kids, so conscious about how I am, because I know that my kids are watching me. I know that they're seeing me, and I want them to imitate the good stuff, not the bad stuff. It's been said that what leaders in the church do good 90% of the time, 10% will follow. What they do bad 10% of the time, 90% will be done by the people that follow them. Did you know that? It's a harsh, harsh curve. And so we have to imitate God. I look at God. He never does anything wrong. He's 100% right all the time. And so if I can look at my Father and I can follow him and imitate him, then those that follow me and follow behind me are going to be imitating that. And I'm going to try and direct them up to the Father so they don't see that 10% bad that I do. I want them to imitate the Father and follow him and go along with me. He says, live a life filled with love, following the example of Christ. He loved us and offered himself as a sacrifice for us, a pleasing aroma to God. Just so happens that we have some pleasing aromas coming from right on the other side of this wall. I don't know if you guys can smell them, but I'm smelling barbecue sauce. And I'm going to make this sermon as long as I can. No, I'm joking. God is good. He sent us his only Son. He gave him to us so that we could be saved, so that we might know him. And it's a good thing.